Audio Memoir Part 7. Those first days after von List bonded with Kortifex were, well, they were terrifying. The change in him was obvious. He was still the same murderous Oberfuhrer. But I had never questioned his sanity until then. He immediately ordered all units of his Die Wahrheit battalion to mobilize. Destination: Stalingrad. Over a year had passed since the German surrender, and now Stalingrad lay deep in enemy territory. There was no way Berlin would approve this. I wondered if they would try to stop him. I wondered if I still had any value to Die Wahrheit. I wondered if this would spell doom for my poor Sasha. I was relieved when von List told me I would accompany him. Apparently, he still needed me. But the mission was too terrible to contemplate. I knew he planned to resurrect all those dead soldiers. I had very few options to oppose him. My only chance lay with the other artifacts we had collected. I suspected they also harbored entities like Kortifex. I had no idea if they would be friend or foe. So I made it my business to find out. Krafft, Memoir entry number 8. Once we arrived in Stalingrad, von List locked me in my office, along with most of the notes and relics we brought with us. He was busy securing the area and exhuming mass graves. I was instructed to study the Tome of Rituals for anything that could boost Kortifex's power, and therefore von List's. The other artifacts were locked in a trunk. Kortifex told von List to destroy them, but the Oberfuhrer balked, thinking we could draw on their power too. So I picked the lock, something Sasha once taught me, and laid hands on the mask of Belekar. The initial shock nearly killed me. My heart seized up. I fell and hit my head. When I awoke, I was no longer alone. Belekar was in my head, ancient and wise. We got along immediately, but I was clearly an unsuitable host for such a being. I touched the mask again, so she could withdraw. But in that brief time, we had established a connection and begun to formulate a plan. I used the radio von List left me to send a distress call. We needed the right kind of hosts, allied soldiers committed to vanquishing the Nazis. Professor Gabriel Krafft, entry 9. During our journey to Stalingrad, one particular concern hung over me. If, as I suspected, von List's mission was not authorized, the Nazi High Command might brand us deserters. If so, any prisoners kept by Die Wahrheit would likely be transferred to the camps or simply executed. I was frightened of the strange new light in von List's eyes. But for the sake of my Sasha, I kept demanding to know what would happen to my spouse. Of course, he did not want to hear it. But Sasha was how he maintained leverage over me, and he still needed my expertise. When the last Die Wahrheit unit arrived in Stalingrad, they brought with them a letter from Sasha. Von List had requested it to shut me up. It was the glimmer of hope I needed. It was carefully worded. There was little warmth, no in-jokes or personal references. But Sasha was alive and relatively safe. That was all I needed to continue my work.